Let's take a look at some information and charts on Bitcoin for BraveNewCoin. So there's been a lot of buzz and news. I'm not going to say hype. I'm not going to use that H word. There's been a lot of discussion about the upcoming Bitcoin ETF approvals or denials or delays. Now, Bitcoin ETFs have been in the works for years, all of which have been denied or delayed. The difference this time is we have an SEC head who seems to like the idea of a Bitcoin ETF based on Bitcoin futures. Whether or not we get a Bitcoin ETF based on spot Bitcoin or actual Bitcoin is another story, but a futures ETF is a step in the right direction. It's a door that's open that hasn't been open ever before. So I think a lot of what we're seeing now is potentially folks who are trying to front run that news. On the other side of things, we also have just seasonality on our side here. September was trash, as it always is, and here comes Q4. So September being trash is actually really great for us because it gives us a springboard for seasonality into Q4. Even if this stuff gets denied, I still think we're bullish Q4. We may not be as bullish. We may not be as instantly bullish as euphoric top, but I don't think the seasonality isn't going to hold for Q4 if this stuff gets denied. And there's been more and more ETFs announced even over the past couple days. This is yesterday, 5 p.m. ARK Invest talking about ETF product. Valkyrie, which has had products in the works for a while now, is updating their prospectus. And NYSE filed for a Bitcoin ETF, a Bitwise Bitcoin ETF. So everyone and their mother is coming out of the woodwork trying to get an ETF through the door now. And a lot of people are saying that that's a good sign that something's going to get approved, right? And they're probably not going to approve one. They're probably going to approve a type of an ETF. That way there isn't one entity that gets all of the flow. So we'll see what happens if it happens. But SEC has been saying for a while now on their Twitter, if you invest in a Bitcoin futures market, be careful. This may just be an automated thing. It may be related to the potential announcement. I don't know. Who knows? But Truenomic put this together. Kind of interesting timing. Bitcoin is a proof of work network that uses the SHA-256 algorithm for 10-minute block times. And for the most part, barring a few abnormalities, we've stayed within that 10-minute expected block time. Really, for the most part, we've held below that because hash rate has continued to increase. Aside from the China mining disruption, where block times basically hit a record high because hash rate got pulled before we could get a difficulty adjustment, things have been fine on the block time front. I know a lot of people complain that it's just taking 10 to 30 minutes, whereas ETH takes whatever seconds. Like, I get it. But at the end of the day, it's up to the exchanges or the receivers, the recipients, to decide how many confirmations do you want. Do you want 8 confirmations? In that case, it would be 80 minutes for Bitcoin. Do you want 50 confirmations for ETH, right? I don't know. Like, it depends on what you want, what you're confident in. I think DeFi operates on one confirmation, right? As soon as it's in, boom, you're done. You can do your thing. So people are getting more and more used to that and less patient with confirmations and the like. But I think 10 minutes is perfectly fine. I'm never scrambling to send a transaction, personally anyway. Hash rate has rebounded. Not a lot of press about that I can see, but other than Texas has gotten a lot of the hash rate. But hash rate is basically back to where it was in October, January, April. You know, it's not all-time highs, but it's pretty close to all-time highs, which is impressive after you remove an entire country's mining capabilities and potentially move it somewhere else, including Texas, Kazakhstan. Whoever accepts them and has cheap electricity is where they're going to go. And if we look at the difficulty changes since all those negative periods, it's just been smooth sailing, just slow grind up, positive, 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 positive. We basically reclaimed at this point almost all of it. Not all of it, obviously, but almost, right? It's getting there. Looks really good on the hash rate side of things. There's no death spiral or anything like that. This is mining profitability for SHA-256 miners at 4 cents per kilowatt hour, which is what most miners on the industrial scale receive as pricing, and they're all in profit, aside from the oldest miner, or one of the oldest miners anyway, as well as whatever the hell this is, Hummer miner, Mars, blah blah blah. Miners getting fat and happy here, which is good. The caution is with the Puel multiple, or how fat and happy are they getting? Nobody can resist selling a windfall, right? Everybody's got a number, including the miners. They got a number. Miners are terrible traders typically, but they have a number, and they're probably waiting for that number, because we'll look at HODL waves in a second. Ain't nobody selling nothing. Ain't nobody moving nothing on chain in the past 6 months. The coins that are moving now have been coins that haven't stopped moving recently, and it'll make more sense when I show that chart. But transaction counts rebounding significantly, along with hash rate, average transaction values skyrocketing here. There's been a lot of on-chain activity that's been hot and heavy recently. But if you're bullish anything, you want on-chain activity to pick up. I don't care what it is. You need on-chain activity. It's just fundamental baseline in order for this thing to actually have legs over time. I mean, look at 2017. Look at any other bullish period in Bitcoin's history. So that looks really good from a on-chain activity perspective. Whether or not that's all mining, whether or not all of this decline in active addresses in the fill here, whether or not all of this was just mining activity or not, whether it's all mining activity now or not, I really don't care. It's on-chain activity to me that's bullish. Look at all of the bullishness we had in on-chain activity from 2013 to 2018. So you need that to continue to move higher and higher and higher. NVT in the line here is a measure of economic utility relative to price. A falling NVT is bullish. A rising NVT is bearish. A historically high NVT is also bearish. So you definitely want to see this thing coming down. If you're bullish, which it is, you want to see it well below 70, well below 60, because that represents on-chain activity picking up relative to market cap, which is supporting price basically. You need some sort of fundamental stuff going on, because speculation isn't usually enough. Like, it'll move price really high really quick, but it will not sustain over long periods of time. Looking at MVRV versus price, another one of these metrics of economic utility relative to price. For the most part, a lot of coins top out at a 2x multiple. MVRV is in the green here. And using the left to Y axis, you can see it's gotten, in Bitcoin's history, it's been above 5. It's a couple times, it's been above 4. It's kind of this declining diagonal, descending diagonal here. But most recently it got to 2.7. Currently it's at 1.7. So I'm certainly a bit nervous, because for most coins, the 2x multiple is where they top out. But for BTC, 3, 4, 5, certainly possible. If we're at 80K, 120K, 150K, and MVRV is still sub 3, I'd say, yeah, let's keep going. If MVRV is above 3 when we're at those highs, that is a massive be careful signal, because that says most of it is speculation, and you have relatively little on-chain activity to support that. This is HODL Waves. This looks at the number of coins that have moved in the past period. So we can select all the way up to 10 years. What I care mostly about is anything that's moved in the past 6 months. So that's all highlighted here. Historically, all-time highs in price have been put in when, over the past 6 months, more than 50% of the chain has moved. Currently, we're seeing rising prices and falling activity on chain. So we're seeing fewer and fewer coins move as a percent of total in circulation as prices are moving higher. You can see some of these lower time frames are picking up, the 1 to 3, 1 week to 1 month, 1 day to 2 to 1 week, right? But the important thing here is the total over the past 6 months declining. And as we hit highs, as we hit all-time high, as we hit 80K, whatever it is, whatever the high is, right? I don't know, maybe it's 250, right? I think it's going to be at least 100. But as we get up there, it's important to look at this to see, is 50% of the chain moving over the past 6 months? Because that is a big sign that people are cashing out. Miners cashing out, hodlers are cashing out. The hodler is unhodling, right? They're making a big shift in their life. It's a big upgrade. I mean, this is life-changing stuff for a lot of people. So you certainly can't fault them for unhodling at an all-time high. And a lot of this is, everybody's got a number, like I said. Most people, when they get a waterfall of money, typically do something with it. But right now, a lot of people are hodling for higher highs. That's just kind of the way it is. A lot of people talking about Lightning as well. I don't use Lightning ever, or haven't recently, but looks like a lot of people are using it. El Salvador stuff certainly has helped this. And it's bullish for BTC if you get some sort of layer 2 faster payment network thing going on. We'll see what happens over the long term. Right now, it's certainly picking up in a big way. And definitely not bearish in any means. Bitcoin Google trends over the past 5 years, just flat, cruising here at around 25, whatever percent this is, I don't know. If we're bullish, if we're 80K, whatever, plus, you're going to want to see Google trends increase. Now, if we're at 250 or whatever, and Google trends are an all-time high, then I start to get nervous. A lot of times, highs in Google trends correlate with highs in price. So you want to see people slowly coming to the table, getting a drift of what's going on. And as we hit those highs, euphoria takes over. Everybody's talking about Bitcoin. Every conversation's dominated by it. People are searching price every hour, that sort of thing. That's when you typically see the highs put in. Flipping gears to technicals, this is the 2-year MA in the green, the multiplier, the 5x multiplier in the red, midline in the white. How this generally works is it's an oscillator. Sell zone is in red, buy zone is in green. And it also gives you expected prices. It gives you time points for expected prices as well. So the top end of this is at 120 currently. Let's say I'm wrong and we go mega bearish. Anything below 27K is a gift of a buy based on this metric. Anything below this 2-year MA historically has been a generational low of sorts. Okay, it's been an excellent opportunity to buy. So at 120 plus, and that's going to move up slowly over time. Let's say we get there. Let's say we get close. On this multiplier on backtesting, it has surged past that every time it's broken it, right? Most recently it didn't break it. So we'll see what happens when it happens, but that's the target for now. If it breaks it, then yeah, it can go a little higher for a little longer, but that's telling you be careful up here, Mr. Trader, Mrs. Trader, guy or gal, whoever you are, because that is danger zone overbought territory. If you're a trader, if you're an investor, you don't care. Hold it, whatever, forget about it, go do something else. But if you're a trader, that's a good time to sell. On the nearer term stuff, looking at the EMAs, yearly pivots, and VPVR volume RSI, we are where we need to be based on trend metrics, above the 50, above the 200, above the previous kind of no man's land of chop support resist levels, above VPVR levels. We're currently creating a VPVR congestion node at 57, 58K. If this drops, I like 50, but beyond all-time high, right? There's no volume. So, there's no resistance. It's price discovery at that point, and it's anybody's guess. But you can use fibs. You can take the most recent high, which is the all-time high, and the most recent local low, and you get a projection of 83 to 100K, basically 83 to 95. If I want to be more conservative, there's also a yearly pivot up there at around 95. You could argue cup and handle here as well. If you're a chart pattern person, I like that RSI is not yet in overbought territory. So if this thing does go to 100K plus, it's going to do it in waves and surges. It's not going to do it most likely in one candle. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think it's going to get there immediately. If the ETFs get approved, it's going to help price, obviously. If they get denied, it's going to hurt price, but I don't know how much it's going to hurt price, right? Like, is it going to break 50 if we get denied here? Is it going to break 40? Is it going to break 30? I don't think it's going to break 40 or 30. It could break 50, right? It could get back to the 200-day moving average. So a lot of if this then that, but that's kind of part of the regulatory game as we get this ETF stuff coming over the next week. You can also look at a pitchfork and just say, if we're in this channel and this is the top, we're probably going to relax a little bit up here unless things go bonkers berserk, right? But for the most part, probably a rest stop at around 65 to 70K. Cloud absolutely loves this thing. It is above the cloud. Bullish DK cross. The only caution here is we're quite far from the Kijun, but it is definitely a BTFD, a buy the dip situation at 49 based on the Kijun. And because we got a bullish TK cross above the cloud, something that happens virtually never, I couldn't be more bullish, right? This may not look like anything, may not look like much. It's certainly been explosive from July to August. It's been explosive post-October. Maybe people aren't impressed yet, but if we zoom out and look at all of the bullish TK crosses above cloud ever since 2017, there haven't been many. And when you get multiple, like we did in 2017, that means you're just on a crazy run. We had multiple in 2020 leading us into, we had multiple in 2020 leading us into what we had in 2021, but we're on the right track. We have one right now. That these happen rarely. If we get another one, right, let's say the ETF gets denied and we're still bullish based on seasonality or what have you, and we get another bullish TK recross above the cloud into November, December, I get even more bullish. It's like the race car on the track with the speed zoomer thing. I forget what it's called. If you know, you know. But that helps us propel momentum significantly, or it's telling you that momentum is resetting and ready to go again. So I'm super bullish, and we can look at higher time frame pitchforks and say, yeah, here's where we sell. We sell up here. We're currently right where we should be based on rate of change in the mid zone here, the brown zone, and 180 by Q2. This also gives time points, right? So January is like 130, 120, something like that. Anything above that is a sell, like it was here. So we're right where we need to be for explosive action here. And then if you're looking at trailing stop losses, I like the daily using the Williams Fractal. Whenever we get a high, low, high print, it'll print a fractal. Whenever we get a low, high, low, it'll print a fractal. So this gives you trailing stop loss on any long trade here on these red hats or Chiron, whatever you want to call it. Currently at 53, and it's telling you to enter or add to your long above 57.5. And these entries and exits trigger when we get a daily close below those levels, and you can do back testing on all this and see if you're comfortable with the signal to noise. But when we're trending, this is an excellent trailing stop loss measure. So things in Bitcoin couldn't be more bullish, honestly. Love it. Bring it. Stars are aligning, etc., etc. Lastly, I'll just mention the ETH-BTC fund and DeFi portfolio trade for Technical Capital and Ensign by Finance, a non-custodial portfolio management tool where you can send ETH or USDC or just watch what I'm doing. You can see everything, including AUM, performance, allocation, as well as the trades in the trades tab down below. That's all I have for this one. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, and happy trading.